Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the long road. It's again glad to be back. I can tell you, I think I did about 8 years on the Cheshire TV under the same title, The Long Road. I think I did about 350 episodes. But I can tell you the support that I'm getting, the quality of the technology is so much better over the end of Cheshire TV. The people who started Cheshire TV did a really good job. And of course, a lot of times when you do certain things get political, and some people in their own self-interest, it cost the community a couple of years of no public access TV, and that was really disappointing. That would have been extremely helpful during the COVID time. So when a lot of people didn't get the information that they needed. And so, like I've said before, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad the support that I'm getting right now from Fact TV. They make my show a heck of a lot more professional looking, and as everybody should know, it's the support staff that can make someone look really good. And, you can make yourself really look really bad, but the support staff can make you really look good. And I think the people at Fact TV are helping me do my best to look the best possible. One of the things that we've been hearing over and over again is about the teacher shortage. And especially in the Keene area, where they're saying is no one wants to work in Keene. People are quitting like crazy. And so this has to be a result of a toxic environment. Well, yes, people are quitting, but people are not quitting at the numbers that people think they are quitting. People are retiring, but they're not retiring at the numbers that people have. There is a lot of talk, but there's very few facts going correct. A lot of the talk is just not factual. I first went on the Keene School Board in 2001. I was in 2001 to 2007. Got voted off in 2007. Came back in 2010, and I've been on the school board since then. It's not unusual. It wasn't unusual to have 10 to 13 teachers a year retire. And I think this year we had 3 that retired. And so a lot of people are just saying, I'm fed up, I'm quitting. No. Okay. For example, I had talked to the band leader. the music teacher, did a great job out in the elementary school. And he said he was leaving. And I asked him why he was leaving. He said, you know what? I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be in band and help children out. But teaching was never my lifelong dream. His lifelong dream was to be a social worker. And so I think he did his 10 years teaching. That means he would qualify for a state retirement when he got much older. But he wanted to be a social worker. He decided that he wanted to help people in other ways. Okay? And being a social worker, that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of education. And being a social worker just doesn't pay that much. When you go in, if you have your own business as a social worker, you got to go out and you got to work and find clients. You got to treat clients. You got to get clients that are going to pay you, because insurance companies are cutting back. They don't want to pay for mental health, even though mental health is health. Okay? If you have something wrong with you mentally, it's the same thing as breaking a bone. They both need to be treated. Other things is, okay, a brand new teacher comes to Keene, gets $40,000 a year. People go and say, hey, $40,000 a year, that's a lot of money. I would love to work 6.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, and have all summers off. Well, yeah, you can have all summers off. But do you want to be a high school English teacher? You be a high school history teacher? When you go home at night, you got a whole bunch of papers. You got to grade those papers. You got to read those research papers. You get, like I said, you got to grade the tests, read the papers, read the essays, grade them, make corrections. And so you may go in and work your 30, 32 hours a week in the school as a classroom teacher, but depending on the job you have and depending on the dedication that you have, you may be working another 20, 30 hours a week in classroom prep, grading, reading, preparing. And so now all of a sudden, $40,000 a year isn't that much. Okay, and so then you look at the cost of living in Keene. A 600 square foot studio apartment, I don't even call it an apartment, but a studio room, goes about $1,400 a month. And so basically $17,000 of your $40,000 would go to rent. Okay? Now you take 7%, well, 7.6, and then you take the 7% to the retirement, New Hampshire retirement. That's 15%. That's another $6,000 between Social Security, Medicare, and retirement. So now that's $23,000 of your $40,000. Okay? Now, if you have 10% taxes, now, it's going to be less, but we just rounded off to $4,000. Now, you're up to $27,000. $27,000 just to have a place to live, to pay into your retirement, and pay your federal taxes. Bingo, 27,000. So that leaves you 13,000. So you have $1,100 a month. So on $1,100 a month, car payments, you got to buy food, clothing, entertainment, internet, phone. Okay? Now, why would you want to come to a place that is so expensive to live and has no nightlife or anything? If I'm 22, 23, 24 years old, I don't want to spend all my time staying in my room looking at my phone. I want to be able to go out. I want to meet people. I don't want to hang in Panucci's. I don't want to hang in Lab and Lager. I want to meet other college-educated people and have a good time. I would like to be able to go on vacation, things like that. So while in the past, we used to have a lot of people applying for the jobs, when I go look at the numbers, like with Keene State was a teaching college, but those numbers have gone down drastically. I reviewed a research article by Brown University. Do you know that the number of teachers that students that go to college and become teachers have dropped by 35% over the last 10 years? 35% that will graduate and become certified to be a teacher. 35%. You know how many are going that used to get master's degrees in education? Almost 17%. We're not producing teachers because, okay, when we had the Great Recession in 2008, most of the states and communities said, how are we going to save money? They said, let's screw the teachers, let's lay off the teachers. Okay? And hundreds of thousands of teachers and support staff around the country in 2010, 2011, and 2012 lost their jobs. And we haven't hired all those people back. We haven't hired the numbers back. Okay? So, for example, the average teaching salary in Keene right now is $60,000 a year. Okay? By the time you get there, you want to be able to have your own house, you have children, you got expenses, and you go. And as we all know, $60,000, which seems like a lot of money, but doesn't necessarily go very far. The other part, the state of New Hampshire, believe it or not, on the report, when they filed to the federal government, Department of Education, the state of New Hampshire was the only state. There was 40-something states that increased, but the state of New Hampshire was the only state that said it had no teacher shortages whatsoever. A total lie. But you know what the state of New Hampshire had? The state of New Hampshire, according to the Department of Education and Brown University's research, the state of New Hampshire far, far exceeded any other state in the country even states like Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas, which are not known for education, almost 40% of the people that were working in teaching positions by federal standards were unqualified for the position they were in. Yes, almost 40%. So as a parent, you should be really ticked off if you're living in New Hampshire and New Hampshire goes and says, no teachers shortages, but we have no problem at all of filling 40% of the teachers' positions in the state of New Hampshire with unqualified people. They could be good people, they could be knowledgeable people, but they're not qualified or the highly qualified requirement that the federal government puts out there, where they've gone out, they've taken the exam, passed the practice exam, and said, hey, you were qualified as a teacher. In a lot of states like Connecticut, for example, to become a teacher, you have to have a master's degree. And part of the reason that you would have a master's degree is I'm a history major. I go to King State College. I have to take 40 credits in history. If I want to be a history teacher, I take 20 credits in education, and I take 20 credits in history. Some of the states, some of the countries say, no. If you want to be a history teacher, you will graduate with a history degree, and then you will go to school and get the education degree. And so a lot of people who want to be in teaching enjoy teaching the children. Okay, like any profession, we have highly talented teachers. We have a bunch of above average. We have a bunch of average. And there are always a few, the bottom 10%, you wish that you could get rid of. But it's really hard to get rid of. And a lot of times people talk about the bottom 10%. And the average, the budget average, the excellent, and the outstanding teachers. Why would I want to work in a profession where I get grouped in with the lowest common denominator? We don't go out and reward quality teachers. We complain a lot about substandard teaching. I don't care what profession you're in, you have a ladder. You have a few outstanding, you have a lot of excellent, above average, average, and you have a group of substandard. And, you know, we look at presidents, we look at senators, we look at CEOs, principals, you name it. They're all up and down, and no matter, you know what, we go, what were people thinking when they voted for that person? What was the hiring committee thinking when they hired this person to be the CEO or the president of the bank? And so, but if I'm going to come in and I'm going to be a teacher, like when I went to King State College, I wanted to be a teacher. But then at that time I was back in 72, 73. Yes, I'm ancient. But I'm looking, oh, it's only like $9,000 a year to become a teacher. Excuse me. But I can join the Marine Corps as a second lieutenant and get paid a little bit more. So I took the Marine Corps. Part of it is because I could take care of my family. If I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my family, why would I want to do a job that doesn't allow me to take care of myself and my family? If I can't take care of myself and I can't take care of my family, how can I do a good job? It just doesn't work out. If you're feeling like crap, you're feeling like you're getting beaten up, it is really tough to be excited about getting up, getting dressed, and going to work all day. That's it, plain and simple. It just doesn't matter what job that you're doing. Okay? My granddaughter, she's in 10th grade. Excuse me. She just got a job at Home Depot. Okay? $16 an hour. Okay? At $16 an hour, if she had graduated from high school and got that job and was getting $16 an hour full-time, but if she was working full-time, she would get paid more money. So $16 an hour, that's $640 a week. Okay? That comes out to about $33,000, $34,000 a year. So I can graduate from high school, go work a place like Home Depot, and start off for $33,000, $34,000 a year, plus benefits, 401, all that stuff. And 15% off everything I want. Now, I could go 4 years, maybe 5 years of college, pay between $120,000 to $160,000 to become a teacher, and I have to pay, and I get paid $40,000. Okay, and not only do I get paid only $40,000, but I'm going to have to pay money if I want to help my classroom along. You know, especially if I'm an elementary teacher, I'm going to have to spend money out of my own pocket. Plain and simple. It's not unusual for teachers to spend money out of your own pocket. I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a part on your income tax where teachers could claim, saying, hey, I spent $1,200 a year out of my own pocket for my classroom. Okay, so you could help write that off on your taxes. So in 5 years, so if my granddaughter graduated from high school, worked 5 years at Home Depot, okay, so 15, bingo, she would make about $175,000 to $180,000 over that 5 years, while the teacher would have spent $120,000 to $150,000 over 5 years to get the teaching certificate. So when my granddaughter's 23 and she's working at Home Depot, when she's 23, she's making about $40,000 a year. Now that teacher is 23, making $40,000 a year. But look at the difference. it's over $250,000, or it's actually over $300,000 difference. Just think of it. My granddaughter would have made $180,000, pretty close, $170,000 to $180,000. The teacher would have gone $120,000 to $150,000 in debt, $330,000, and they're at the same age and they're making the same amount of money. Now, if I'm going to spend 5 years in college, it's not because I'm dumb. Okay? 5 years, then you go, well, what about the long term? Well, after 5 years, Home Depot, or if she'd been working full-time at Starbucks, Starbucks would have paid for her college education, so she could be taking classes online. So even if she did it slow, 5 years down the line, she has an associate's degree that she didn't pay for. The equivalent of the associate's degree would have cost that teacher $50,000 to $60,000. So, hey, say I round it off, I make $170,000. I get the equivalent of $60,000 worth of education, and I have no debt. This one, same one. I've got 2 extra years. I got a BA instead of an AA, but I got $150,000 in debt, and we're paying. So on this person, so 23, but you know what? I've been going, and at the same time, I could be applying for more demanding and better paying positions in the company. Maybe I'm a section leader. Then I can move up to be an assistant manager at a smaller one, and then assistant manager at a bigger Home Depot, and then a manager as a small, and I get to move. Okay? But what about the teacher? If I'm moving up the line in corporate America, I have a better chance of making more money. I get rewarded by doing good. The teacher, just think, but on the teacher's side, you could come in and be a kindergarten teacher at age 23. 35 years later, at age 58, you're still a kindergarten teacher. Can you picture coming in and doing the same job, maybe even working in the same room for 35 years? The only thing changes is you get new kids every year. And then as you go along, you get the children of some of your first kindergarten. And then maybe later on, you may even get some of the grandchildren of some of the first students that you dealt with. Then you deal with every 3 to 4 years, there's some new finagle, solve all the problem education model. And then after 3 or 4 years, another one comes along. Well, being on the school board for almost 20 years, what I've noticed on these, it comes in, we spend a lot of money, and just when we get, and it doesn't look like it's working, a new model comes in, maybe sometimes by the same company, to spend more money. And it goes on and on. But 20 years later, we don't have better results, but we spent a lot of money. So when we talk about the teacher shortage, and we're saying not many people are applying. Well, we screwed the teachers over in 2008, 2009, the Great Recession. For example, the state of New Hampshire, I was in the State House, and the Speaker created this committee to go in and say, you got say for example, we got $1.1 billion. That's all we're going to spend on education. And so what we want you to do, this committee, is come up with an adequate education. And at the time, the Speaker was a Democrat. The governor was a Democrat. The House and the Senate were Democrats. And so they came up with an adequate education. The Speaker got upset at me because I was the chairman, and I said, ma'am, I'm not voting to support this. The people, the parents of New Hampshire don't want their children to get an adequate education. An adequate education, hey, you can work at Walmart or Wendy's or McDonald's. An adequate education is basically you can do basic math, basic reading, basic English. That's it. Okay? We might throw in a little bit of art, maybe PT, sports, but music, no. But those are not part of the adequate education. But it passed, and that's what happened. When I stood up on the floor, I said, the people of New Hampshire, the students of New Hampshire deserve a quality education, not an adequate education. And so the students, people of New Hampshire, yes, they need music, they need art, they need extracurricular things, they need foreign languages, they need a bunch of these stuff so they can be well-rounded individuals. Now, just think, you want to help kids, you want to do the best job possible, but the state of New Hampshire and a lot of the school districts say, nah, you're not allowed to do the best job possible. What do you mean? That's right. We don't want you to overeducate the children. We want it to be adequate. And I'm going, me, myself, I don't do something to be adequate. I don't go to school to be adequate. I didn't join the Marine Corps to be adequate. I don't do this to be adequate. I do this to do the best job possible to help improve myself and hopefully to help improve the people that I communicate with. And so I want you to come in and do a job where I'm not going to allow you to do the best job possible. I'm going to tell you not to do the best job possible. I was teaching at Hinsdale High School. And here's one. The kids, because I was there, they gave me all the low-level kids. I'm just using that as a phrase. I had a number of special needs and all this, and we're going. And I says, okay, for example, we got 20 words. Okay, I don't care if you spell every single one of those words wrong. If you can use all those words in an understandable sentence with the right meaning, I will give you a C, because As an English teacher, I want you to be able to communicate. Okay? And guess what? Every single one of the students were passing. Even the special needs students were passing. Because they all had an expectation. Kids were doing. And I says, well, you know what? You're doing really good. I want you to help these other students that are not doing very well. And the kids loved it. And the kids would study because if Johnny is going to help Billy, Johnny goes home and studies so he doesn't look like an idiot to Billy. You know, so it's going on. Everything is, I have no problem in the classroom, no rude kids, none of this stuff. So one day the special ed teacher comes to me and it says, you're using the IEPs, right? You know, individual lesson plan? I go, what is an IEP? She says, oh yeah, the special need kids have an IEP. They don't have to do what the other kids do. And I go, what? Yeah. I says, well, I'm in the Marine Corps. My job is to teach everybody to get everybody the best of their ability. She says, no. So we have one student. There's 20, like I said, 20 spelling words. And that student's IEP said during the test, that student would be able to pick any of the 20 words that I'm going to use the word they decided on. Okay? Then the IEP also said that student would pick 5 words for me to grade. I go, well, okay, but that student can't get any higher than a C. Nope, can't do that. I go, what? If that student gets 5 right out of 5, that student's got to get an A. 4 out of 5 is going to B. I go, that's not right. That's not fair. Sorry, that's the way it is. That student, once they had to start using the IEPs became a crutch to a lot of the students who had them, and they didn't work as hard. And the kids that I had helping other kids, those were the kids that were bored and had nothing to do, and then they got frustrated because, hey, if I get 19 out of 20, I get an A, and the kid with the IEP gets 5 out of 5, gets an A, they go, Mr. Roberts, that's BS. And they became troublemakers again. One of the individuals that I was talking about graduated with high honors. Yes, high honors. And that individual, when I went and saw some of the people, I'd go to Brattleboro and I'd see some of them working, and then I would ask. 5 years later, that individual had not got a job. Why? Because employers do not care about your GPA or your high honors. They care about, can you communicate? Can you think? Can you do this? The school system screwed that individual over. And I went to myself, I cannot be a part of this. To purposely know that we were setting those children up for failure. 21 years in the Marine Corps, it was my job to make sure everybody had the opportunity to be successful up to their potential. I could not force anybody to work to be successful, but I had to give them the opportunity to be successful up to their potential. Okay, I ran the Boston Marathon in 2.5 hours. I finished 152nd place. I can't go out and tell everybody, hey, if you don't run the Boston Marathon in 2.5 hours, you're a failure. That's setting people up for failure. So now, why would you want to become a teacher if you know that you're not allowed to set up students for success after graduation? And so just think, every time we have an economic downturn, we lay off teachers. Yes, we want minimum standards because we don't want to push children because, hey, they're going to go. They may want to do better jobs. They may want to do this. And it's all right to only know that you're setting them up for failure. That's a big reason why people do not go into teaching. If I go to the hospital, I go like to Maplewood Nursing Home, I go to other nursing homes, there are a lot of LNAs there. And LNAs don't get a lot of money. A lot of them could be working at other places that pay them just the same or more money. Okay? I don't want to stock produce at Aldi's at $17 an hour because it's boring, it's nothing. You know what? I like working at the nursing home. When I can put a smile on someone's face, I make a difference in someone's life. Or I made a smile, I gave a birthday cake to someone who's been in a nursing home for 5 years and no one has come to visit him on their birthday or on a holiday. I can make a difference. I enjoy making the difference. And sometimes what I do is priceless. Okay? Teachers used to be able to do that. A lot of them are not allowed to do that. Some go to charter schools, others go to private schools, others go to parochial schools because they want to make a difference. They want to go home and say, wow, I had a great day. Johnny finally got the math equation. We've been working on it all year, and the light bulb came on. Susie finally got it. She can read at grade level. Those are the things. Or Billy finally knows how to play the violin without blowing out everybody's ears and sounding like someone is scratching on the blackboard. Those are priceless. Okay? Those are all important things. Okay? And the other part is the state of New Hampshire says, and a lot of states says, you must stay in school until you're 18. Hey, I'm 16. I don't care less about graduating. Hey, I gotta show up in school every day, because if I don't show up in school, they'll send the truant officer after me. Because the state of New Hampshire says, and a bunch of other states say, hey, if Billy doesn't show up from school, we're not paying you for Billy to be in school that day. So it's in the school's best interest, financial interest, to make sure you got kids who are not going to graduate, who don't want to graduate, to be in the classroom. And those kids become really disruptive. What do you do? Yes, you want all the kids to graduate, because it's important to say 98% of our kids graduate. Well, but you have children that will take away learning opportunities. They become behavioral problems. They become discipline problems. And so you do that. So, and some of those kids, especially in the high school and even in the middle school, can make coming to work unsafe for teachers. Look around the country. 6-year-old kid comes into school, shoots his teacher. First thing is, why the hell does his mother have a weapon, a loaded weapon, unsecured in the house, and totally unaware that her son brings it to school and shoots the teacher? Why do places that you have to have metal detectors and police officers so kids can get in school, because you're afraid kids are going to bring them and shoot people? So some of the kids should not be in school, but we do it because of the financial part. We do it because the numbers look good, the graduation numbers look good, but then you make it a hostile environment. Okay, so just think of it. You have a job that you may be doing for the same thing for 30, 35 years. You may change some places, but because very few teachers become principals. Okay? You got a job that you're at the whim of the economy. Oh, we can't hire, we got to lay off teachers because we didn't pass the budget. You got a job where sometimes, hey, it's hazardous to come to work. You may not get shot, but you may get bumped, or, the kid get in your face. The kid can scare you, put fear in you. So there's different things. And then you're unappreciative a lot of times. Hey, you got parents who don't take care of their children, do not teach their children manners, do not teach their children how to be respectful, and they go in and say, you're not taking care of my Johnny. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm Johnny's teacher. I'm not Johnny's parent. Hey, we've gone through this. We had alcohol syndrome. In the early parts of the 21st century, we had a lot of kids that were suffering from alcohol. Then we had crack babies. Then we had opioid babies. And so we had meth babies. And all the research says when parents are taking drugs, parents are consuming a lot of alcohol, underweight babies, and you have babies who have developmental problems. And the parents are saying, you better take care of my kid. I didn't sign up for this. I signed up for you to teach your child, to help socialize your child, to help teach your child how to get along with other people. Hopefully not to be a bigot or prejudiced or violent against other people, but to be a productive member of the community. That's what I want to do as a teacher. So when we're talking teaching shortages, we are not motivating 18, 19-year-old kids to be idealistic and decide, yes, I want to be a teacher and help change the world. No, you're getting, hey, we want you to be a teacher so we can abuse you, we can put limitations on you, and we can fire you or lay you off when we want and expect you to come back when we need you. And oh yeah, hey, okay, no. My daughter was going to be a teacher. She said no. She's a nurse, and she enjoys the nurse. She works at Maplewood Nursing Home, and she enjoys interacting with the residents every single day. She would not give that up to be a teacher at all. Not much difference in the pay. She works longer hours on call a lot, can't take long vacations, but she wouldn't change it because of the satisfaction she gets when she gets to go home and says, I made a difference in a resident's life. I made a difference with the family who lost a loved one today or last night. That's what teaching and caring and compassion is about. And we don't want that out of teachers. We don't allow them to do teaching. Now, going back real quick, back to the high school, okay, we really don't have a teacher shortage. Our big shortage in the high school is we do not have substitutes, okay? When we don't have substitutes and we have teachers missing because teachers get sick and things like that, we don't have anybody to give a lesson plan for the day because mostly all the teachers have substitute lesson plans that the substitute can do that. And so when we don't have substitutes, we have to put the kids in study hall, and they lose the whole day. So if we're creating really difficult situations to be a teacher, why the hell would you want to go in and substitute for $125 a day? It used to be $100, but $125 a day. Bingo, okay, you're gonna have 3 classes at the high school, and that's what you gotta do. Because we can't get substitutes, we then have a serious teaching problem because it's not unusual to have 2 to 5% of our teachers out every day. That isn't a high number, but we used to fill all those numbers with substitutes. We can't get substitutes. We can't get support staff. So when we can't get substitutes, we can't get support staff, teachers have to do jobs that takes away from their ability to teach. Principals and administrators have to fill in where we used to have substitutes, taking away from the ability to be administrators. So while we're talking about not having enough teachers, the real problem is nationwide is that we can't convince people to come in and take jobs as support staff, to fill in substitute positions. All these McDonald's, Burger King, Home Depot are all better working conditions than substitutes. And basically, go out in the world, and you see a lot of people over 65 working there. They used to substitute. They say, nope, I'm not substituting anymore. And so, yes, we have a problem. We have an environmental problem for teaching, and we just can't get substitutes, so we have teachers doing substitute jobs. So my time is all up, and thank you.